Commander Zilax's evacuation order just failed for the first time in 47 campaigns. The human zookeeper wouldn't move the bear cubs, hadn't said a single word, and somehow his entire battalion had stopped advancing. "Commander, Battalion 7 reports they cannot proceed." His second-in-command's voice crackled through the comm with an edge Zilax had never heard before. "Battalion 3 also holding position. Battalion 9 requests—" "I gave a direct order," Zilax roared, his command ridge flaring crimson. 38 minutes until planetary bombardment. 38 minutes to evacuate this wildlife facility and clear the strike zone. And his elite military force, veterans of 3 sector wars, had ground to a complete halt because of one human female standing in a doorway. She hadn't even raised her voice. She hadn't raised anything. She just stood there, arms crossed, eyes locked on his, between him and a den of sleeping bear cubs that, according to every tactical analysis, were utterly irrelevant to the mission parameters. "Sir, The squad leader nearest to the human shifted his weight, weapon lowered. "I cannot execute removal protocols." "Cannot or will not, soldier?" I don't know, sir." Zilax felt his blood chill. In 3,000 years of Krillian military history, that sentence had never been uttered. A soldier either could or couldn't. There was no middle ground, no confusion. The hierarchical command structure was absolute, coded into their very biology through generations of evolution. "Secondary command, what is your status?" "All units report the same, Commander. Proximity to the human female results in inability to proceed. We're trying to determine—" "She's doing something," Zilax snapped. "Scanner, full spectrum." He stalked toward the human himself, every sensor in his armor active. The facility's alarms wailed around them. 36 minutes now. Red emergency lighting painting everything in shades of blood and urgency. Evacuation transports idled outside, waiting for cargo that wasn't coming. The human, Emma, her identification badge read, didn't flinch as he approached. Didn't move at all. Just maintained that steady, unblinking eye contact while standing squarely in front of the climate-controlled den behind her. Inside, Zilax could see 2 juvenile Terran bears, completely unconscious in artificial hibernation, utterly unaware that their planet was about to become a battlefield. "Move. Aside." He made each word a command, pushed every ounce of his authority into his tone. The translator should have rendered it with full imperative force. Emma's expression didn't change. She didn't speak. But somehow, impossibly, her silence felt louder than his order. "Sir, scans are negative." His tech specialist's voice held genuine confusion. "No psionic emissions, no technological interference, no chemical agents, no known influence methods. She's just standing there." "Then move." "Her! We can't, sir." Zilax whirled on his troops, 50 seasoned soldiers, armed and armored, standing in a loose semicircle around one unarmed human female in a work uniform. Not a single one advancing. "You can't. You physically cannot approach her?" "No, sir, we physically can. We just—" The squad leader's mandibles clicked in distress. "We don't want to." "You don't want to?" The words hung in the air like an accusation. Want had nothing to do with military operations. Soldiers didn't want. They executed. They obeyed. His comm erupted. "Commander Zilax, this is Orbital Command. Bombardment sequence is locked. 34 minutes. We need that facility evacuated now. What is your status?" "We have a complication." "What kind of complication stops an entire battalion?" Zilax looked at Emma. She still hadn't moved, hadn't spoken. Behind her, one of the cubs shifted slightly in its sleep, and he saw her weight shift infinitesimally. Not away from him, but closer to the den entrance. Protecting. "A human, sir." Silence on the comm. Then, "Explain." "I can't." The admission felt like swallowing broken glass. "She's preventing evacuation protocols without taking any measurable action." "Is she armed?" "No, sir." "Threatening?" "No, sir." Then, for the love of the founders, remove her from the area." "We are unable to comply, sir." Another voice cut in. Younger, urgent. "Commander, we're getting similar reports from evacuation teams across the facility. 3 more humans have arrived. Every team that encounters them reports the same effect. Orders acknowledged, but not executed. It's spreading." 32 minutes. A human female appeared beside Emma, older, with medical insignia on her jacket. Olivia, he thought, catching the name from her badge. She carried equipment crates and moved with the same unhurried purpose as Emma, as if the countdown to orbital bombardment was merely a mild inconvenience. She glanced at Xilax's assembled forces, at the weapons and armor and obvious firepower advantage, and actually smiled. Then she went back to preparing transport containers for the Cubs. Neither human had spoken a word, and somehow, Xilax's entire command structure was collapsing around that silence. "Override Protocol 77 Alpha," Xilax commanded, accessing the emergency command codes reserved for hostile situations. His armor systems pulsed with authorization clearances that should have compelled immediate obedience from every soldier in his command. "All units, execute forced evacuation procedures." Nothing happened. 50 soldiers remained exactly where they were, weapons still lowered, watching Emma and Olivia work with the Cubs as if the most important military operation in the sector wasn't crumbling around them. "Override acknowledged, sir," his second-in-command reported. "Units are aware of the command, but cannot execute." "Cannot or will not?" Xilax demanded again. "Both, sir. Neither. I don't have words for this." 30 minutes. Emma finally moved, not away from the den, but deeper into it. She knelt beside the nearest Cub, checking vital signs with practiced efficiency. Her movements were calm, methodical, completely divorced from the urgency screaming through every comm channel. Olivia joined her, the 2 humans coordinating without speaking, their actions flowing together like they'd done this 1,000 times, which they probably had, because this was their job, their normal, mundane, utterly unimportant job that was somehow overriding military imperatives that had governed galactic conflict for millennia. "Get Kaldra down here," Xilax snapped. "Now, I want a behavioral specialist analyzing this immediately." "Sir, Kaldra is with Evacuation Team 9. She's experiencing the same effect." "What?" She approached a human male attempting to evacuate the primate enclosures. "She reports being unable to enforce evacuation protocols. Her analysis is that—" The comm officer hesitated. "Sir, she says she'll need to observe your situation directly. She's en route." Xilax resisted the urge to put his fist through the nearest wall. Instead, he tried a different approach. He walked forward, slowly, carefully, until he was less than 3 meters from Emma, close enough to see the concentration in her eyes as she examined the Cub, close enough to hear her breathing, steady and unhurried. "Emma." He tried her name, softening his tone to something approaching diplomacy. "We need to evacuate this facility. Your planet is about to become a war zone. These Cubs will die if they remain here." She looked up at him. Finally, direct acknowledgement. Her eyes were brown, he noticed. Completely unremarkable eyes that somehow carried more weight than his command codes. She still didn't speak, just held his gaze for 3 long seconds, then returned her attention to the Cub. "This is impossible," Xilax muttered. "You're not doing anything. There's no mechanism for this effect." "Commander, Kaldra has arrived," his second announced. The behavioral specialist pushed through the ranks of paralyzed soldiers, her observation tendrils already extended and quivering with analysis. Kaldra was old, older than most of his command crew combined, and had studied every sentient species in the galactic database. If anyone could explain this, it would be her. She stopped 5 meters from Emma and went completely still. "Fascinating," she breathed. "Explain it," Xilax ordered. "She's not blocking us, Commander. She's not preventing anything. She's communicating. She hasn't said a word." "Precisely." Kaeldra's tendrils rippled with excitement. Do you see her posture? The angle of her shoulders? The position of her feet? She's placed herself between us and the cubs. Yes, but look at the spacing. She's left room for cooperation. She's not threatening. She's not afraid. She's teaching. Teaching what? Priorities. Kaeldra moved closer, analyzing. Commander, humans are social mammals, pack creatures. They evolved in environments where protecting vulnerable young wasn't just instinct. It was survival strategy. But unlike most pack species, they developed complex nonverbal communication systems. They can convey intention, establish hierarchy, negotiate cooperation, all without vocalizing. So can many species. That doesn't explain. But humans do it across species barriers, Commander. They domesticated dozens of other species on their homeworld. Predators, prey animals, creatures with completely different social structures. They learned to communicate with all of them through posture, expression, presence, and now... Kaeldra's voice dropped to something like awe. She's doing it to us. 27 minutes. Olivia stood up, dusting off her knees, and walked directly toward Zilax. Every weapon tracking system in 50 suits of armor followed her movement. She didn't even glance at them. Just carried her medical scanner and stopped 2 meters away, close enough that he could have grabbed her easily. She looked at him. Not challenging, not submissive, just present. Waiting. What do you want? Zilax asked. Olivia tilted her head slightly toward the cubs, then back to him. Raised one eyebrow. The meaning was somehow crystal clear. Are you going to help or keep wasting time? She hadn't spoken either. This is insane, Zilax said. We have orders. We have protocols. You have 26 minutes, Kaeldra interrupted. And you have 2 humans who are currently teaching your entire battalion that their priorities are wrong. Look at your soldiers, Commander. Really look at them. He did, and saw what he'd been missing. They weren't paralyzed. They weren't confused. They were reconsidering. Every single one of them was watching Emma and Olivia work, watching them prepare to save these cubs, and something in their military programming was short-circuiting against something even deeper. It's a protection response, Kaeldra explained. Humans trigger our pack-bonding instincts, our caretaker programming. Every social species has it, the drive to protect vulnerable young. But we've buried it under military discipline, tactical thinking, mission parameters. Humans haven't. They've refined it, weaponized it through evolution. She's standing there radiating these lives matter so powerfully that our instincts are overriding our training. That's not possible. And yet, Kaeldra gestured at the frozen battalion. Emma returned to the den entrance, and this time she did something that made Zilax's blood run cold. She turned her back on them, completely, presented her undefended spine to 50 armed soldiers and focused entirely on maneuvering a transport cage into position for the first cub. The message was deafening in its silence. You're not a threat, because I've decided you're not a threat. Sir, Orbital Command is demanding an update. 24 minutes. Tell them. Zilax struggled for words. Tell them we're experiencing a first contact situation that requires new protocols. Sir, we've had human contact for 6 years. This isn't first contact. It is for command structures, Kaeldra said quietly. Commander, you need to understand. You can't order these humans to leave. You can't force them. Every attempt will fail because you're fighting against something older than your military, older than your species. You're fighting against the fundamental mammalian drive to protect young. So what do we do? Emma lifted one of the cubs, still unconscious, with surprising strength, settling it gently into the transport cage. Olivia moved to the second cub, her movements mirroring Emma's exactly. They worked in perfect synchronization, and Zilax realized with growing horror that his soldiers were unconsciously moving to help them. 3 of his squad leaders had stepped forward without orders, positioning themselves to carry the transport cages. Commander, one of them said, voice uncertain. Permission to assist with evacuation? Zilax stared at him. I gave that order 30 minutes ago. Yes, sir. But now it feels right. 22 minutes. And for the first time in his career, Commander Zilax had absolutely no idea what order to give next. Orbital Command. This is Commander Zilax. I need to speak with Commander Jotaro directly. The comm crackled. Sir, the Orbital Commander is managing bombardment sequences. He can and he will. Authorization code, Crimson 9 Actual. This is a command structure failure at the fundamental level. Get him. Now. 20 minutes. Emma and Olivia had both cubs secured in transport cages now. His 3 soldiers, the ones who had moved to help without orders, were standing ready to carry them. Waiting. For what? Zilax couldn't say. The humans still hadn't given a single verbal instruction. Zilax, this is Jotaro. What in the name of the founders is happening down there? I'm getting reports of mass protocol failures across 7 evacuation teams. Sir, we have a situation that I cannot adequately explain. Requesting behavioral specialist Kaeldra provide analysis. Kaeldra stepped forward, her tendrils still quivering with ongoing observation. Commander Jotaro, we are experiencing what I'm classifying as nonverbal communication dominance. The humans are using body language, positioning, and what I can only describe as emotional projection to override our command hierarchies. Silence. Then, that's not possible. We have 3,000 years of... It's happening, sir. Right now, I'm watching it. Kaeldra moved closer to Emma, who had straightened up and was now checking supplies in Olivia's equipment pack. This human female, Emma, has established herself as pack leader of this entire operation without speaking a single word. She's communicated threat assessment, priority hierarchy, and tactical cooperation through pure presence. Explain how? I can't, sir, not fully, but I can describe what I'm observing. Her posture indicates she's protecting vulnerable members of her pack, the cubs. Her eye contact establishes authority without aggression. Her positioning creates a cooperation space rather than a confrontation zone. And somehow, impossibly, every species present is reading these signals correctly. Krillians, Vexians, Thoraxians, all of us are responding to her nonverbal cues as if they were direct orders. Emma chose that moment to look directly at Zilax. She raised one hand, fingers relaxed, and made a simple gesture toward the exit. The meaning was crystal clear without words. Time to go. Then she smiled. Just a small curve of her mouth, warm and genuine, that somehow communicated, see. This wasn't so hard. Zilax felt something in his chest loosen. The mission parameters shifted in his mind without him consciously changing them. The cubs were the mission now. Getting them to safety. Everything else was secondary. No, he said aloud, fighting it. No, that's not. We have orders. You have 17 minutes, Commander. Jotaro's voice cut through. And if what Kaeldra is saying is accurate, you need to adapt. Can the humans evacuate those cubs in time? Emma was already moving. She lifted one end of the first transport cage. The cub inside weighed at least 60 kilograms and started walking toward the exit. Not hurried, not panicked, just moving with purpose. Olivia took the other end. Together they carried it as if they did this every day, which Zilax realized they probably did. His soldiers parted to let them through, not because they were ordered to, because it felt natural. Right. Commander Zilax, Jotaro said, his voice taking on an edge. I need a direct answer. Are the humans a threat to the mission? No, sir. Are they preventing evacuation? No, sir. They're executing it. Their way. Then why are we having this conversation? Good question. Zilax watched Emma and Olivia load the first cage onto the transport vehicle. They moved efficiently, checking restraints, adjusting climate controls. Professional, competent, completely unimpressed by the military crisis happening around them. Because, sir, they've taken operational control without assuming operational command. My soldiers are following their lead, but the humans haven't given orders. They're just doing their jobs, and we're adapting to them instead of them adapting to us. Caldra made a sound of agreement. It's unprecedented, Commander Jotaro. Every first contact protocol assumes verbal or technological communication. The humans are using something older, something that bypasses our analytical systems entirely and speaks directly to our social instincts. Caldra, your professional assessment. Is this dangerous? The behavioral specialist watched Emma return for the second cub cage. Watched her pause to check on one of the soldiers, who had helped, actually made brief eye contact and nodded in what was clearly approval. The soldier straightened up, looking absurdly pleased. Dangerous? No. Revolutionary? Absolutely. Commander, humans appear to possess a universal command language that operates through empathy projection. They can make any social species understand priorities without verbal communication. They can integrate into any pack hierarchy and establish themselves naturally. This isn't aggression or domination. It's cooperation at a level we didn't know was possible. 15 minutes. Emma and Olivia had the second cage loaded. They moved to the transport vehicle's control panel, and Zilax saw Olivia key in coordinates. Not to a safe zone designated by military command, to the wildlife sanctuary on the northern continent, the one specifically designed for refugee animals from conflict zones. She'd known exactly where to go. Had probably known the entire time. Commander Zilax, Jotaro said slowly, are the humans now evacuating the facility? He watched Emma climb into the transport vehicle. Watched her settle into the driver's seat with the casual confidence of someone who'd done this 100 times. Watched Olivia join her, already pulling up maps on a datapad. Yes, sir. Then get your battalion back to primary objectives and let them work. Sir, they've essentially taken over. Have they? Jotaro's tone sharpened. Or have they simply shown you what the priority should have been all along? You have 14 minutes, Commander. Move! Emma started the transport's engines. The vehicle hummed to life. Climate-controlled cargo bay maintaining perfect conditions for the hibernating cubs. Then she leaned out the window and finally spoke. You coming or what? Zilax stared at her. What? There are 6 more enclosures that need evac, Emma said, like she was discussing lunch plans. Thought you military types might want to help, seeing as you're already here and all. 12 minutes. We don't take orders from... I'm not giving orders. Emma's expression was patient, almost amused. I'm asking if you want to do your job or stand around arguing about who's in charge while animals die. Your call, Commander. Olivia laughed from the passenger seat. Zilax, right? You've spent 40 minutes trying to make us leave. We were never leaving. So you can either keep fighting that, or you can actually help us save lives before your orbital friends start shooting. What's it gonna be? The transport rolled forward. Emma didn't wait for his answer. All units, Zilax heard himself say, split into evacuation teams. Coordinate with human personnel. We have 12 minutes to clear the remaining enclosures. His soldiers moved instantly, not with the hesitation they'd shown before, but with purpose. Clear objectives. Meaningful mission parameters. Caeldra's tendrils rippled with something like satisfaction. There it is. There what is? You just accepted. Her framework, Commander. She didn't override your authority. She expanded your mission parameters to include hers. Now your soldiers aren't conflicted anymore. They're protecting vulnerable lives and following military structure. She made both things possible simultaneously. Zilax sprinted after the transport, his squad falling in behind him. Through his comm, he heard similar reports echoing across all evacuation teams. Humans directing soldiers to enclosures, soldiers adapting to human methods. The entire operation restructuring itself around cooperation instead of control. 10 minutes. Commander Jotaro. Zilax panted as he ran. We need bombardment delay. Repeat, we need... Zilax, what's happening down there? All my tactical displays just reorganized themselves. It looks like efficient evacuation patterns. The humans are running the operation, sir. I didn't authorize... Emma's voice cut through the command channel. Somehow. Orbital Commander Jotaro. Emma here. Listen, we can clear this facility in 20 minutes, but not if you start shooting in 8. Can you hold fire for 15 additional minutes? How did you access this frequency? Jotaro demanded. Your guy's comm was open. Look, I'm not asking for much. Quarter hour. We save a bunch of innocent animals. You still get your military thing done. Everybody wins. Deal. The sheer audacity of it left Zilax breathless. She just negotiated directly with Orbital Command using his own communication channel, and she'd done it like she was arranging a play date. You realize, Jotaro said slowly, that bombardment sequences are locked. I can't just... Sure you can. You're the commander, right? So command. Look, we both know these timelines have buffer built in. Your people aren't monsters. You wouldn't cut it this close if you couldn't flex a little. So, flex. 8 minutes. Silence on the comm. Zilax could picture Jotaro's expression, probably similar to his own an hour ago, confronted with impossible human logic that somehow made perfect sense. Kaeldra, Jotaro said finally. Is she doing that thing to me right now? Through audio only. Fascinating. Yes, Commander, she is. Her tone, pacing, and word choice are all establishing collaborative authority. She's not threatening or pleading. She's treating you as an equal partner in solving a problem, which makes refusing her feel like failing the mission rather than maintaining protocol. That's terrifying. That's human, sir. Emma pulled up to the reptile enclosure, already hopping out. So, we good for 15 minutes, or do I need to work some more magic? 7 minutes displayed on every tactical screen in the facility. Jotaro's sigh echoed across the command channel. Bombardment delay authorized. You have 23 minutes total from my mark. Mark. Don't make me regret this, human. You won't. Thanks, boss. Emma grinned at Zilax. See? Just needed to ask nicely. Now, there's a family of draconians in here that need special temperature regulation during transport. You guys know anything about... Battalion 4 specializes in thermal management, Zilax found himself saying, routing them to your position. Perfect. Olivia, you take the avian enclosures with... What's your name? Kaeldra. Great. You look smart. Birds are tricky. They panic easy. Gonna need your whole calm energy thing. Commander Zilax, you're with me. These draconians are big and grumpy when they wake up, so I need someone intimidating as backup. She was assigning tasks to military command staff, and they were accepting. Kaeldra, Zilax said quietly, explain to me how we ended up working for them. The behavioral specialist's laugh was warm. We're not working for them, Commander. We're working with them. There's a difference. Is there? Ask yourself, does it matter right now? 23 minutes on the clock. 6 enclosures left. It didn't matter at all. 21 minutes later, the last transport cleared the facility perimeter. Zilax watched from the command vehicle as the wildlife sanctuary coordinates confirmed receipt of all cargo. 12 enclosures, 47 animals, 0 casualties. Executed with a precision that would have made any military logistics officer proud. Emma was already unstrapping from the transport harness, stretching like she just finished a routine shift. Not bad. Little rushed at the end there, but everyone made it. Little rushed? Olivia laughed, checking her datapad. Zilax's squad moved those draconians in 4 minutes. That's got to be a record. Yeah, they were solid. Emma glanced at Zilax and actually gave him a thumbs up. Good hustle, Commander. Good hustle. She just complimented his military performance like he was a promising intern. Bombardment commencing in 90 seconds, Jotaro's voice announced through the comm. All teams confirm clear of strike zone. Clear, Zilax confirmed, still processing what had just happened. Around him, his soldiers were relaxed. More relaxed than he'd seen them in years of combat operations. Several were actually talking with the human personnel, comparing notes on animal handling techniques. Emma, Kaeldra approached, tendrils still quivering with analysis. May I ask you a question? Sure. Did you know you were overriding our command structure? Emma blinked. Your what now? The military hierarchy, our orders. You prevented us from executing our protocols and established your own operational authority. Were you aware you were doing this? Emma looked genuinely confused. I wasn't preventing anything. The Cubs needed transport. The Draconians needed climate control. The birds needed careful handling. That's just the job. You guys were standing around with guns looking official, so I figured you'd either help or leave. You chose to help. But you didn't ask for help. You didn't request assistance. You simply acted, and we followed. Yeah, because it was obvious what needed doing? Emma shrugged. Look, back home we have this thing. If there's a fire, you don't wait for someone to organize a committee meeting about the fire. You grab a hose. You guys had the equipment, the personnel, the transport. You just needed someone to point at the fire. Olivia joined them, grinning. Also helps that you all have that whole protect the innocent thing wired pretty deep. Made it easy. Easy. Zilax couldn't keep the disbelief from his voice. You collapsed 3,000 years of military protocol in less than an hour. Did I, though? Emma's expression was innocent. Or did I just remind you what the protocol was supposed to be for in the first place? Protecting lives. You guys were so worried about following orders that you forgot why the orders existed. The bombardment began. Distant thunder rolled across the sky as orbital weapons engaged their targets. The facility they just evacuated vanished in precise, controlled destruction. 47 lives saved. Because 2 humans had refused to leave, and somehow made that everyone else's priority too. Commander Zilax. Jotaro's voice had taken on a different quality now. Thoughtful, almost cautious. I'm filing a report on this incident. Command needs to understand what happened here. Kaeldra, I'll need your full behavioral analysis. Already compiling it, sir. This will require significant updates to all human interaction protocols. What kind of updates? Zilax asked. Kaeldra's tendrils swirled. Every manual, every first contact procedure, every military operation guideline that involves humans will need revision. We've been approaching them as verbal communicators with standard technology. We need to understand they're also nonverbal commanders with empathy projection capabilities that transcend species barriers. They can make us want to cooperate without forcing compliance. That's a power we barely understand. Emma snorted. Power. It's called not being a jerk. You see something that needs doing, you do it. You see someone who needs help, you help them. That's not power. That's just basic decency. On your world, perhaps, Jotaro said through the comm. In the galaxy at large, the ability to make multiple species cooperate instinctively toward a common goal is unprecedented. Emma, humans have been part of galactic society for 6 years. In that time, we've documented your technological adaptability, your creative problem-solving, your unusual endurance. But this, nonverbal command authority that works across all social species, this is new data. Great. So what, you're going to study us now? We're going to learn from you, Kaeldra corrected. There's a difference. Commander Zilax, how many conflicts have you resolved through force? Dozens. And how many did this human resolve through presence alone? Zilax looked at Emma, who was now helping Olivia pack up their equipment with the same casual efficiency she'd shown throughout the entire crisis. Not celebrating, not boasting, just moving on to the next task. 1, he admitted, in under an hour. Imagine if we learned that skill. The thought was staggering. Galactic conflicts resolved not through force or negotiation, but through the simple human ability to make everyone suddenly care about the same thing. To establish cooperation as the obvious choice, rather than the diplomatic one. Emma, Zilax said, would you be willing to teach? She looked up from coiling a power cable. Teach what? Whatever it is you just did. Emma laughed, bright and genuine. Commander, I didn't do anything special. I just paid attention to what mattered. You want to learn that? She tossed him the cable. Start by actually looking at what's in front of you instead of what your orders tell you should be there. That's lesson 1. She headed for the transport, calling over her shoulder. Now, if you'll excuse me, I've got about 6 hours of paperwork to file, and then I'm getting the galaxy's largest coffee. You military types really know how to make a shift interesting. Olivia paused beside Zilax. Wait till you see what happens when there are puppies involved. Whole different level. She grinned. You're gonna need bigger protocols. The transport rolled away, leaving Zilax standing in the bombardment's aftermath with his entire worldview quietly restructured. Kaeldra's tendrils brushed his shoulder gently. Welcome to humanity, Commander, where the most powerful weapon is asking if anyone needs help. Terrifying, he murmured. Absolutely, she agreed. And exactly what the galaxy needed.